Hey there! If you use stylus pens like those from Wacom, then you know the problem of them wearing down and scratching your tablet surface. At that point, it's about time to switch out the pen's nib, the little stick with the rounded tip that you draw with. But if you do that, it won't take that long until you run out of nibs and you have to buy new ones, which are not cheap. I mean, seriously, $1 for every tiny nib? Seems overpriced to me. There might be some off-brand ones, but I didn't find much. Fortunately, you can extend the nib's life cycle multiple times by following some very simple tips and tricks. Firstly, the easiest thing you can do is rotate the nib 180 degrees. That only works though if you always hold the pen roughly the same way, for example with the buttons pointing up. The nib itself doesn't really rotate, it should be held in place tightly. Therefore the nib would only wear down on one side. To better illustrate this, I made a 3D animation. Probably a bit of an overkill, but it was a good opportunity for me to get accustomed to Blender. This is my very first 3D project. So we have this simple model here of a pen's tip. After we draw a bunch, the nib is wearing down at an angle. These animations are a bit exaggerated by the way to get the point better across. Okay, so if we look at the opposite side, we still have a perfectly fine round surface. So just take some pliers or a similar tool and rotate the nib 180 degrees. Feels like new, and we can keep on drawing comfortably until that side is also flattened. Now what? Time to throw it away? Not yet. Get a tool for fine sanding, like sanding paper or something like this plate that I have. I am from Austria, so I assume that the number at the back follows the FEPA grid number standards, so it's supposed to be extra fine. If you live outside of Europe, then these numbers might be different. The exact grid number doesn't really matter all that much though, just don't take something that is too rough. I'd say take a tool with about the same roughness as a nail file, or even finer. And then simply sand it down and make the nib round again. Of course, you can't move it around all willy-nilly. Subtract a little bit from the top and then change the angle step by step and sand it down while rotating it in your hand. Apply only very little pressure, you don't want to sand more material away than necessary. Stop several times in between to check how it looks like. At first wipe off the residue and then hold it in front of a bright surface. Use a magnifying glass if needed. Repeat and adjust until you have a round surface again without any sharp corners. Now you can get back to drawing and it feels great again. It doesn't take that long, maybe 1 to 2 minutes if you get the hang of it. You can do this several times and therefore use a singular nib for a long period of time. I, for example, use them for years until I finally have to replace them because they just get too short. And obviously, I draw a lot. There's one last tip I can give you. Change the pressure sensitivity so that you need less pressure. Obviously, the harder you press on the tablet with your pen, the faster it gets worn out. You can change the sensitivity either in your graphics tablet settings, or in your graphics software, either as a general setting or for individual tools. Don't overdo it though, otherwise you'll have no control over your pressure sensitivity anymore. And not only would less required pressure result in higher durability for your pen nib, but also your hand. If you constantly use a lot of force just to get the paint out of your tools, then you'll get carpal tunnel syndrome or another injury very fast. A while ago I made a video about hand injuries and how to treat and prevent them. I can still recommend it. And that's all the advice that I can think of. If you have some other tips and tricks, feel free to share them in the comment section. I'm not pretending like I'm giving you the ultimate universal advice. There are almost always different solutions for the same problem. Alright, thank you a lot for watching and have fun drawing.